broadcasting live 4 days a week worldwide
from the sunny beaches of Southern California.
This is ExtremeHealthRadio.com.
Hey, this is Daniel Vitalis from SirThrival.com, and you're listening to Justin and Kate on Extreme Health Radio. And I'm just here to remind you to rewild yourself.
Today, we're going to be talking about our furry little four-legged creature friends, aren't we?
Oh, and for anyone who listens to us regularly knows we have a little furry four-legged friend.
A little 10-pound dachshund.
Who we care about more than anything.
More than anything.
This is great.
So this will be a great show. We're going to talk to Robert Mueller from BarfWorld.com. We're going to be talking about the raw food diet for dogs. And this is going to be a really interesting show. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is Extreme Health Radio, episode number 216. And for reference, today's Thursday, March 6, 2014. And Kate, I want to thank you for the juice this morning.
Oh, you're welcome.
Woke up, had a big ton of water, and then Kate asked if I would like a juice. I mean, can't get any better than that.
That was a really great way to start the morning. Usually we do it after the show, but...
all kinds of greens and celery.
A lot of celery. A lot of parsley.
A lot of parsley. There's no better way to start the day.
I know, right?
So again, thank you everybody for joining us. If you'd like to listen live, you can do so at extremehealthradio.com/live, and you can hear the show as it's happening and join the chat room and ask your question to all of our guests that way. So that's a great way to interact with our guests. You can always email me a question, Justin at extremehealthradio.com.
Or send one over to me, Kate, K-A-T-E, at extremehealthradio.com.
And if you'd like to join our forum, if you are ever listened to our shows and you think, oh man, this is such good information, I wish they would have asked the guest this question or that question, you can always continue the discussions in our forum. And a lot of people do that after the shows. They'll jump over to the forum and start talking about the different subject matter. We had a lot of stuff going on with our last guest, Dr. Kalker.
Oh, right.
About the ropeworms.
Yep.
So good stuff in the forum if you want to check that out. And if you like to support our show, there's lots of different ways you can do that. But one really simple, easy way is if you make purchases on Amazon and you would like to support us, that's a great way to do that. The trick is just remembering to do it every single time, because even I forget. So if you go to extremehealthradio.com/Amazon, anytime you make a purchase and you can buy anything you want, that'd be a great way to support us.
Yes.
So good stuff. Beautiful day here in California, and we were scrambling. We had a schedule snafu yesterday. We're scrambling to find guests for today's show.
Not let you guys down.
Yeah, didn't want to let you guys down, and Robert Mueller stepped up to the plate on less than a day's notice. This is incredible. And
amazing. Meant to be.
What's that?
Meant to be.
It was meant to be. Yeah, and he just came in from, I'm not sure what other state, but his website is barfworld.com, and he's written a book called Living Enzymes, the World's Best Kept Pet Food Secret. And he's a registered pharmacist. And like I said, he's the author of that book. And he's helped zoos worldwide incorporate the proper raw food diets for their carnivorous population. And he's been involved in this kind of thing for over 30 years, 35 years or so. So he really knows what he's talking about. So if you have furry loved ones, furry four-legged friends, you're going to want to listen to this show. So thank you so much, Robert, for being available. I really appreciate this.
My pleasure.
Yeah, you were just available. So do you have another place that you do business in another state, and then you came to California as well?
Basically, I'm participating as a snowbird in Texas right now.
Oh, goodness.
Nice.
I do what I do from wherever.
Oh, wow.
Wherever there's a cell phone and a computer, I can do business.
Oh, that's amazing. So, yeah, I really appreciate you stepping up to the plate and being available. This is really great.
Not a problem.
How did you originally get started? Because I was looking at your bio, and it says that you were a registered pharmacist, and then you got started with the raw food diet for dogs?
That's correct. I did pharmacy for about 10 years. Had an opportunity to get involved with my brother into a raw food venture, and found that more exciting than pharmacy, and have been doing it for 38 years.
My gosh.
Wow. So 38 years ago, I'm sure there wasn't much or many people really awake to the idea that the dogs should be eating raw food.
38 years ago, it was like salmon running upstream.
Really?
I bet.
Oh, man.
You know, but the area that I was in, that was a good area because I was in the Greyhound dog track business, and the dog tracks fed all of their compounds raw meat diet because that diet was far greater energy source than feeding dry dog food. So the result was everybody fed in the compounds were feeding raw food. So that's how I really got started with it.
Wow. So when did this whole idea of wet and dry kibble really become popular? Was that in the 70s or was it before that?
Oh, a long time ago. It's been almost 100 years that they tried to find a better use for some of the waste grain products that were being destroyed in the human market, and somebody found a way to pelletize it and put it as a source for dogs.
They tend to do that, don't they? Any waste materials that would otherwise just be discarded, they realize, hey, there's a big market here. If we can just convince people or animals need these things, we can just sell it to them and make a lot of money on stuff we would normally throw away, you know?
Right. Well, the animal is a very resilient vehicle in that it can function as an omnivore, it can function as a carnivore. So they found that an animal could be raised on that type of ingredient product, and they successfully have done that for about 100 years. Successfully to the point that there are better ways to feed, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Now, do you think that the typical grain-based diet for dogs, it seems in my mind that it's causing sickness and disease, but is the bigger picture that dogs could live longer, or is the bigger picture that they're getting sicker, do you think?
I think a combination. The dogs obviously get to a point where the organ systems shut down. And after 38 years, I've pretty well formulated a philosophy in regards to how long this takes. I see most of the problems that our company deals with happens at the 5 to 6 year point.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, really? So
it takes 5 or 6 years for the dog system to react to allergies and degenerative type diseases.
You know, it's interesting too with animal owners. It's a funny thing I see often is that not only are they feeding them really poor diets, but they tend to feed that same diet day in and day out. And that's got to be causing problems too, right?
Well, that's another factor that we harp on continuously because you have to understand the moisture content of a raw diet compared to a dry food diet. The dry diet has approximately 10% moisture, and the raw diet is approximately 70% moisture. So by feeding a dog a continuous daily diet with the proper moisture level of 70%, the dog is getting his hydration through the diet. In contrast to the dog trying to eat a 10% dry diet and then getting his external source of water. And consequently, what I have formulated at this point is the fact that a dog that's continually fed a dry food diet is under a continuous state of dehydration. And that leads to kidney problems. It leads to other organ degenerative type problems.
And does that happen even if the dog is drinking enough water?
Well, the difference is water that's consumed through the diet is absorbed better than water that is taken in externally.
Interesting. It's interesting to realize that there is water in meat, isn't there?
70%.
70%.
Yep.
Wow.
And so the first thing that our customers notice is that when they start feeding the raw food diet, their dogs all of a sudden don't have the need for drinking water. And they wonder why. We get phone calls all the time. What's happening to my dog? He's not drinking water anymore.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah.
This might be a silly question, but is that the same with human absorption of water, or is it totally different how we're made?
No, it's all the same. I relate a lot of the problems with dogs with the same conditions with humans.
Wow.
A lot of it's quite relative.
You know what I find sad is I work at a hair salon one day a week, but my clients throughout the years, when you mention something about a dog or sometimes the heroic, ways that people go to save their dogs because they're such a family member, it's either half the people, it seems like, would do anything for their dog, and the other ones always say, oh, it's just a dog. At the end of the day, it's just a dog. And they're the ones feeding their dog just this trash diet, and you feel so bad because their short little lives are so shortened even more by people are on such a budget, and they're just not, they're not putting these things on, a high priority list. It's sad to me.
Well, our clients primarily are those that really care about their dog.
I can tell,
They're willing to spend the money to feed it correctly.
Yeah.
They're willing to spend the money to stop going to the vets for every illness that comes upon them. Mm-hmm. These people figure their dogs are part of the family.
Mm.
So you don't have to do much education in terms of educating someone fresh off the street about why we should be feeding our animals and ourselves this kind of way. It seems like the people that would come to you are people that already get all that, right?
Well, yeah, the good majority of them are, but we still run into problems with people trying to understand the true benefits of feeding raw. And so we spend most of our time trying to outline the benefits and what's going to happen. And if we have time on this call, I'd certainly like to outline the benefits that you will get from switching to a raw food diet.
Yeah, we definitely want to get into that.
I would love that, because people look at us cry. We've had Maggie since she's almost 3, and we've kept her started her on a raw diet, and we got her at 5 months old, and they had been feeding her the regular standard diet, and she went through a hard period for about a couple weeks there. But ever since we've had her on the raw, people look at us cross-eyed when we say, we feed our dog a raw food diet, and they, immediately all the flags come up of all the diseases she's going to get and all that. I think there's so many misconceptions that people don't understand.
Yeah.
One line that I like to use, and that's when people go to the doctor and they find out that they have cancer. What's the first thing that they do? They change their diet.
That's true, yeah.
So
okay.
true.
So it's no different with the dog. The first thing, if you want to make a change on your dog, look at what you're feeding them, and you'll see some amazing turnarounds as a result of doing that.
So what are the main problems? People are listening to this and they're thinking, I feed my dog, Alpo or one of these companies that comes across as being really high end, and they feed their dogs this stuff and they think that it's good. But what are some of the main problems that you're seeing with either the dry kibble or even the wet food?
Okay, first of all, you have to understand that every dog food, it doesn't make any difference, but every dry dog food that's manufactured is manufactured the same way. And that's through a heat-processed extruding mechanism. And as a result of that, you have damage of protein, damage of fats, you have amino acid degradation. There's significant loss as a result of that, which the only way that they can do it is to put it back in and reinstill it after it's been processed.
Okay.
And the utilization of the ingredients doing it that way is far less and far effective as getting it as Mother Nature produces the food. And the biggest problem that no matter what brand it is, even if it's the high quality, supposed high quality dry food that has eliminated grains, which has been a big thing recently to eliminate a lot of the problems with allergies.
Yeah, I've been seeing that.
But the big thing is that most dry dog foods that are put together contain about 40% carbohydrates. And if you feed your child 40% carbohydrate levels continuously for their food every day, you can go to the mall and see the result.
Yeah, they'll just be way overweight, obviously.
Okay, that's the biggest thing that I see problem with feeding dry food, which is totally eliminated from ingesting a raw food diet.
Now, I've seen a lot of these things on the internet talking about what's really in these foods, and it's really almost disgusting when you start to
like a hot dog.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like what you see in a hot dog, but what they're putting in, what they're making these dog foods, conventional dog foods from, are coming from very sick animals and even roadkill sometimes, and It's pretty disturbing, isn't it?
Well, it's even worse than that. If you want to get into that end of it, I can share some horror stories with you. Yeah. Because there's a lot of misconception in regards to what's promoted from dog food companies as to what's in their diet. In fact, recently I've been amused by recently looking at some of the recent diet changes that some of the dry food companies are coming out with. I just saw one this morning that said our product has twice the meat content that other foods have.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
I started smiling on that one. Or obviously the elimination of grains, which is a good thing, because the dogs and cats don't need grains in their diet. But if you see the other side of it is some of the bad stuff that's in it, and that's the flavoring agents that are put into the food. Because a dry kibble diet, when it's produced, becomes quite bland, and the dogs won't eat it, so that they've got to throw some flavoring enhancement to it, which is all chemicals. And then you've got pesticides that they have to deal with their ingredient sources. You've got ingredients like some of the products produced from rendering. And this is one that I'm really hung up on, because if you buy product which is bone meal from a rendering plant and put it into dry dog food, you're getting some euthanized dogs as a part of that.
Euthanized.
And that's what the public doesn't know. There's thousands of dogs that are taken to a vet. They're put down with pentobarbital, and pentobarbital, well, the real shock comes out, pentobarbital is not eliminated with rendering. So they're getting traces of pentobarbital every time they eat the food. And this is one I'm really alarmed with, and it's what people really don't know.
And then a lot of times people are, really unconscious about how they're treating their dogs, so they're getting all kinds of vaccination shots and these things. And I would have to think that these things, to some degree, are staying in their tissues as well. That's
another whole topic. And that's why the vet clinics are just full.
Yeah, so you have a dog that gets euthanized that's been vaccinated and, put down with that drug that you just mentioned, and fed horrible food from other dogs that is filled with hormones and things, and then that dog gets put down and put into the rendering, and that's part of what dogs eat.
Puts back into the mix. That's why we do what we do. We have the dogs are the interest that we have for the health of the dog, and we spend our time trying to promote our diet to improve the health of the nation's pets. That's our goal.
Yeah, it's just really amazing, because a lot of people don't think about what's in their food, and that they're eating, and also they don't think about, obviously, what's in their dog food. And I would also say that food in cans or this type of thing is probably leaching heavy metals and things too, right?
Like I said, we could talk for an hour just on the problems with either canned food or dry kibble.
Yeah.
No question about that.
Yeah, interesting. So now you came into this 38 years ago, and when you first got into it, obviously there was a learning curve for people to understand the benefits of what you were doing, but did you start seeing really dramatic results pretty quickly with your animals?
I've seen results, amazing turnarounds for what this diet has done over 38 years. I've been feeding about 5 different generations of dogs, so I've got quite a history in regards to seeing the results. And I've been in several different factions of the market. Like I said, we started out in the greyhound dog industry. One day we had some extra meat that was sold to the kennels down in Florida, and my partner suggested that we take it to the local zoo and see if they would take the meat. And we did that, and the director of that zoo, which was the Sanford, Florida Zoo, Central Florida Zoo, was Jack Hanna.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure a lot of your listeners know Jack Hanna.
Yeah.
Over the last 38 years, I've become quite good friends with Jack, and he took this product and fed it to his cats, his large cats, and he says, Rob, you got a product here that the zoos should be able to get their hands on.
Uh-huh.
And from that initial time, then we veered into the zoo business, and for 12, 13 years I was supplying 95% of all the zoos in the country with their carnivore diet.
Oh, wow.
So I've been able to work with all the exotic animal vets all over the country and out of the country, and it's been an exciting venture to launch to what we do today. I've had all that experience and seen the results of what that's done for their collections.
Gosh, I must have got into some real study and learning for you to figure out what all these exotic animals are supposed to be eating, because I'm sure they're all a little different.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of the nutritionists, a lot of the vet contacts at all the major zoos, and it's been a real eye-opening experience. And we've come a long way from the way it started 30 years ago, I can assure you.
Well, this is a good time. We'll take a little break here, and we're going to be back with Robert Mueller from barfworld.com, and you can check out his products there if you're interested in your animal and feeding them the best things possible. Our little dachshund's snoring right now, 2 feet away here in the studio. It's pretty funny. Kate and I are laughing.
I think she knows the conversation we're having. She
just wants
part of it.
She doesn't want to talk about the food. She just wants the food.
She's dreaming of it.
So we'll be right back with Robert Mueller right after this break. Did you know that calcium is what eventually causes death to all mammals? Did you know that excess bad calcium can actually cause internal fibrosis, inflammation, and can over time shrink your internal organs, causing them not to work properly? Excess bad calcium has been related to heart disease, cancer, arthritis, heart attacks, strokes, digestive issues, cataracts, and just about every known disease. Best-selling author, researcher, and health motivator David Wolfe has put together an incredible program that Kate and I love, and it will teach you exactly how to rid your body of this excess calcium so you can have the kind of body you had when you were a young kid. Imagine being flexible, having 20/20 vision, no joint pain, tons of energy, and feeling like you can conquer the world. The Longevity Now program can help you do just that. It's really, really good. So, David, this calcium issue really is a big deal, isn't it?
It is a known thing in the natural healing profession, even in the medical profession. Let's say somebody gets on birth control pills. They have a very poor reaction to it. Their immune system malfunctions as a result of the hormone change in their body. All of a sudden, boom, they've got like rheumatoid arthritis. They're 25 years old. Immunological problem going on with a joint. So what is the connection between hormones, immune system, and calcification? And there is a very strong connection. It's been well noted in the literature since the beginning of time that age-related calcification, stress-related conditions, for example, arthritis, for example, coronary plaque formation, for example, kidney stones, gallstones, Alzheimer's, which in the old days was called brain sand. It's a calcification of the brain. Why do all these things have something in common, namely the formation of excess calcium in the body, and what can we do about it? And that is, as you know, a big focus of my research. And
like you said in your program, it is what eventually takes down all mammals, isn't it?
It is, yeah, exactly. But for example, let's say you had a tortoise. The tortoises can live 500 years, some of them. But what finally gets them? It's arthritis. Finally gets a tortoise. And that's the great undertaker of all the noble life forms. They eventually get calcified. I get into every nuance of that, what it means, what the new medicine of the future is going to look like. Why calcification? How is it even happening? Should we take calcium supplements when we're dealing with calcification? Which the answer is no. Do not take calcium supplements. They're going to accelerate the calcification. And we just cover it from every angle. So I think it's going to give people a really cool breath of fresh air as to where we're going with our longevity understanding. And for example, arthritis does have something in common with cancer. They both have connected to an excess production of calcium in the tissues. It also has something to do with eczema and psoriasis, which when you scrape eczema and psoriasis off and you analyze it from a mineralogical perspective, it's excess calcium in the skin, lots of it, actually. It's like scale, right? It's calcium.
So it really does relate to everything. And does it also cause fibrosis and the shrinking of internal organs and things?
Yeah, it can cause hardening of the organs. It can cause damage to the organs. And we know that from the kidney stones and gallstones and even cataract. Like, what's a cataract in your eye? It's the formation of calcium in your eye. You know, you start to see it sometimes in elderly people. They start having a fog in the eye, in the iris, and in the pupil. Calcification, that's calcium again. This is not something I don't think we can have time to really break down right here, but I get into the understanding of what is calcium. Calcium is the end product of an alchemical lifting up from hydrogen all the way into solid matter mass, which is calcium, that's used as an exoskeleton or skeleton or fibrous material by vertebrate organisms and even invertebrate organisms that can form the structural part of your body. But then when you pass from this planet, it's left over as a residue on the planet.
If you're dealing with any kind of chronic long-term illness, or if you just want to turn back the clock many, many years, you really need to look into this Longevity Now program. It comes with tons of DVDs, audio programs, recipe courses, and a huge book with step-by-step daily protocols of exactly what to do to achieve massive results. To learn more about it, go to extremehealthradio.com/longevity, or you could check it out in our store as well. Again, that's extremehealthradio.com/longevity.
100% listener supported. Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Don't forget to join our thriving community for health tips, inspiration, and show updates at extremehealthradio.com/Facebook.
Is that right, Kate? Is that what he's saying?
I don't think. We had a guest last week say that right into the chat room and say that this man singing is saying Tallahatchie.
Tallahatchie?
But it doesn't sound like Tallahatchie to me now that I'm listening
What's
to
that second word he's saying?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
It's anyone's guess.
It's anybody's guess.
If anyone else thinks they know what it is, send a chat.
I love his voice and everything about it. I just have no idea what he's on about.
I know.
Oh,
good times.
Good times. So thanks everybody for joining us. This is episode number 216, and we are with Robert Mueller from barfworld.com. And that commercial was for the Longevity Now program. And if you have any questions about that, we have the second edition book as well. We got both books, and it's just a great, great program. So if you have any questions about that, please let me know. And as the lady said, don't forget to follow us on Facebook if you want to keep up to date with our shows, our archives, maybe some archives you have not listened to, and upcoming guests and reminders of shows and all that stuff. We post that on our Facebook wall, so make sure to stay up to date on there as well. And I feel like that Longevity Now program is similar to the BARF. You know, it's like I was thinking we should have a Longevity Now program for dogs.
We should actually.
You know, but this is
I think it already exists. I was going to say, we're talking to him.
I know, feeding your dog right? And
right.
Then,
yeah, prioritizing their little lives a little bit more.
A couple walks a day, you know.
Yeah.
So, Robert Mueller, with your work, we were talking before the break a little bit about how you got started with the working with the zoos. And I had a question for you when you were talking about Jack Hanna and his fame, and he's just ridiculously famous. Did he ever get on board with these things that you're doing?
Well, obviously, he was on board with feeding, our diets to his animals. He's, how do I put this diplomatically? He's gone on to new ventures, obviously, and obviously been sponsored by some dry food companies and promoting their products. Mm-hmm. And, we have, at this point, I haven't extended past my friendship obligation to him to be part of Barf World or promoting our products.
Right.
But down the road, who knows, that could happen. And I'm sure Jack would be accommodating if we elected to do so. But, Kate, I had to ask you a question real quick.
Yes, sir.
You had indicated to me that you've got a little dachshund that you obviously haven't had on raw food. Would you be interested in taking our little 90-day challenge?
Well, we actually have had her on raw food. When we got her, she wasn't, but we've switched her over. But we've been wanting to try yours forever. So if you're interested in doing it, we'd love to do that.
If you've tried the rest, maybe you need to try the best.
I would love that, Robert. A 90-day challenge, huh?
I will call you after the show, and I will set you up with our 90-day challenge, and then maybe after the 90-day challenge, we can do a subsequent interview with you and see if we can see some results.
Robert, we would love that. We would love that. That's actually interesting because during the break, Justin and I were talking. We've known about your product for, excuse me, a few years now, and we think it is the best, and we've wanted to try it. Can you talk a little bit about maybe the other, we buy this little small batch frozen raw food diet in the local store. What is the difference between, obviously, the best and the rest?
Let me put it to you this way. I don't knock anybody else's product, first of all.
That's awesome.
Second of all, if you compare the dry food diets, you don't see much difference in ingredient mixes. Mm-hmm. And likewise with raw food diets, you see some variation of maybe vegetables that are used or fruits, but primarily they're all put together under the same premise in regards to the proper combination of protein and fats and different protein variety of choices. Obviously some ground bone, which provides the proper calcium-phosphorus ratios. Everybody kind of just takes what we started with because we're the originators of the diet, and add their own little tweaks to it, and eventually, we all have basically a similar product that we market out there. But I will say that every one of the raw food diets that are out there, far exceeds any of the dry food diets that are out there.
Absolutely. That's good to know, and that's what I was thinking. The way that you guys, formulate your foods, are there differences in what ingredients go for different, weights or sizes of dogs? Do they need different things to thrive, or not really? Different ratios?
This is all marketing stuff for dry food. Okay? The dry food companies, because of their ingredients, they have to make some different choices in regards to older adults, adult dogs compared to puppies.
Oh, right.
We do everything by volumetric basis, meaning we control weight and we control the nutrition of the animal primarily by how much we feed that animal.
Gotcha.
Okay?
I see. Okay.
So, we do have our own vets and that we have on board with us that make claims that they see definite increases in how their dogs look rather than other people that are feeding other raw products. So obviously we're doing something we're proud of, and we see as good a results as we have over the years. I would not want to change our diet based on the fact that it does what we say it does, and it's amazing to see the turnaround.
Robert,
when you've got some sick dogs and you've got some allergies and you've got some dogs that diabetes and all these other problems, to see those turnarounds and to get the testimonials that we get in this office, you'd see why we get excited about doing this business.
Oh, I bet. I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's just amazing when you're out there helping people. Gosh, it's just so
right.
So much great. Robert, do you know if it's important for people to feed their dogs once a day or twice a day? When I was a kid, we used to feed our dog once a day, but today we feed our little 10-pound dachshund twice a day. Is there a better way or a...
I don't know that one is better than the other. My recommendation is to feed it twice a day.
Okay.
And if the dog is having digestive issues, then I increase that to as much as 3 times a day. Same amount of food, but control it with having less food thrown into the system.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that way you just kind of space it out, but then they get
They feel like they get more.
Yeah, they feel like they get more, right?
It's all in
no, they don't get more. I'm saying feed the same amount, but break it up into 3 feedings.
Yeah. Kind of just trick
if there's digestive issues. Otherwise, twice a day feeding is perfectly fine, and that pretty well accommodates most people that are on working schedules.
Yes, absolutely.
So who is, I saw on your website a few references to Dr. Ian Billinghurst. Who is he?
Yes. Dr. Billinghurst, he's got almost the same amount of time in that I do. Back 25, 30 years ago, he was a vet in Bathurst, Australia. And he was observing the difference of dogs that were put from table scraps, basically, compared to ones that were being fed the dry food diets. And so he, over his observations, decided that he would put together a bones and raw food diet, and he would instruct people how to put these diets together. And I met him at a conference in Pennsylvania several years ago, about 14 years ago, and I convinced him that we should partner up and let me be the source for putting together a commercial food based on our joint philosophy in regards to how to feed a dog, based on raw diet feeding. And he agreed to do that, and so that's how Barf World was formed originally, to make a commercial variety.
Interesting.
May I ask, for people listening who probably don't know, where the word Barf World came from?
Yeah, that's an interesting story as well, because we had Dr. Billinghurst and his wife over for a meeting one time, and we were talking about possibly changing our name because of the connotation that we have in the United States.
Right.
And he got this funny look on his face, and he said, well, why would you want to change it? He had absolutely no idea what barf connotation meant.
Oh, my God.
He just knew it was bones and raw food.
Oh, man. That's funny.
Yeah, do you get people kind of, like shying away from it, or do they think it's more memorable and interesting, you think?
One thing about it, people remember our name.
They absolutely.
No question about that.
So it's the biologically
Absolutely.
appropriate raw food diet. Is that what that stands for?
That's correct.
Biologically appropriate raw
What the
food.
dog is designed to eat.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
appropriate. So I guess people could be feeding their dogs raw food, but it's maybe not appropriate.
Well, the right blend is appropriate. What we've tried to do is to duplicate what Mother Nature has chosen to feed the dog properly.
Mm-hmm.
And so we try to put a combination of ingredients that they would, be foraging for in the wild. And that's why we say they're going to get some protein from different animals. They're going to get chewing on some of the bones. They're going to get the fat combination. And quite interesting is that dogs that consume the bone is getting the absolute Mother Nature's best possible blend of calcium and phosphorus, which is a very critical ratio for especially in young pups that are growing and building their skeletal condition. If you inverse that ratio, because this is what happens with a lot of homemade diets, they don't properly go out and analyze their food. The result is they could have skeletal problems as a result of that. So we're very in tune as to how to put the right blends of bone and protein and the fats combinations, and we do put some fruit and veggies in there to give a whole complex of ingredient choices.
Because if a dog were out roaming in the wild, I mean, they would eat rabbits and squirrels and all kinds of different animals, wouldn't they?
Anything they're fast enough to catch.
Yeah. I mean, they'd probably eat even lizards and things,
Probably.
right?
Yeah, and even beyond that, because they can even, like wolves and that, they can tolerate eating carrion because of the ability with their digestive system to have the stronger stomach acids and to be able to pass it through from mouth to tail in a faster period of time.
So when a dog eats food, how long should it take for them to essentially have a bowel movement after eating that particular food?
I use the formula that takes about half as long as feeding dry food, which is a critical point, because the whole trick in this business is to get the food passing through the GI tract as fast as possible. And that's because we're feeding a raw food diet, and it's potentially got some bacteria that's in combination with it. And so the least amount of time that it sits in the digestive tract, the safer it is. Well, if you take dry food and it takes twice as long for dry food to pass from mouth to tail, all that happens is it sits in the digestive tract. It allows the fermentation process to happen. As a result, it's got a higher buildup of toxins. And this is what we have to do with most dogs that come to our rescue that have been feeding, let's say, for 5-6 years, and they start to exhibit these problems. The first thing that we have to do is detoxify them, and that's what our meat product does. It goes through a detoxification process, eliminates the toxins out of the body, and most of the toxins that we eliminate are pass through the skin. You'd think it would be through feces and urine, but they actually go through the skin. So the dog that's got some problems with allergies, skin conditions, etc., we always have to warn them that it could get a little worse as a result of doing this because of the detoxification process. This is why I like to introduce what we call our 90-day challenge. And, to bring a dog into this exposure of our philosophy for 30 days, I feel is doing the dog injustice because, this first 30 days we're going through this detoxification process, and it could get a little worse before it gets better. As a result, I suggest our Barf Plus supplement, which is a combination of probiotics and vitamins and minerals. I also suggest that they take adequate source from our Omega supplement source. So by putting the dog in that combination of 3 vehicles for the first 90 days, I'll tell you the results are absolutely amazing. Wow. The dog transition in 90 days is spectacular, especially if that dog has been on a poor grade dog food, dry dog food, for 5-6 years. We see some tremendous benefits right off the bat. And stool volume, bad breath problems resolved right away. We get weight reduction, muscle buildup on muscle type dogs, activity levels. I mean, I can go on for hours regarding testimonials of what happens when people get converted onto this type of diet.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah.
You can tell I'm excited about what I do. I see the results of this, and it's just great.
Oh, that's so great. This is amazing stuff. If you want to check out his website, Robert Mueller, it's barfworld.com, and this is episode number 216. So you can check out all the links that we have on this page, episode 216. And we have a listener question from Linda, wants to know about feeding their dog raw eggs. So we'll get into that after the break. And also want to talk about some bones, brisket bones, or eating organ meats, or how to start off dogs eating this type of diet, if they want to transition. So we'll talk about all those things with Robert Mueller right after this break. And check out his website, barfworld.com. And we'll be right back right after this break. The history of heat therapy dates back over 2,400 years, and it was Hippocrates who said, "Give me the power to produce fever, and I will cure all disease." This FDA-approved medical device called the Biomat is a mat that you can lay on, read on, sleep on, do yoga on, sit on, and it can be used on office chairs, massage tables, and the like to help the body heal itself. It's inlaid with 30 pounds of healing crystals using amethyst and a rare black tourmaline, producing negative ions in a healing electrical field. These healing crystals help to restore cellular health by replacing electrons to the atoms, as well as penetrating deep into the body by 4 to 6 inches. What can the Biomat do for you? It'll improve your skin, burns as many calories as if you went jogging for 30 minutes. It improves the immune system by up to 40% or more, reduces stress and fatigue, removes toxins, lowers cholesterol, relieves pain, revitalizes cellular metabolism. It improves cell channels to deliver nutrients and oxygen to every one of your cells. It activates over 3,000 enzymes. And even a Harvard medical study showed cancer cells die at over 42 degrees Celsius. It reduces stress hormones by up to 78%. It allows your body to produce heat shock proteins, which increases endorphins, NK cells, T cells, and lymphocytes. It's very, very low EMF, and it's got a 17-layer technology. Dr. Mark Sirkis is the director of the International Medical Veritas Association. Explain to us more about these biomats.
These biomats are these far infrared mattresses. You lay on them, or you sleep on them, or both. You do very heavy treatments during the day, and at night you sleep at just a nice comfortable temperature. These biomats are like these love machines, comfort machines, and healing machines, because what they do is they just radiate out light far infrared light, and you can radiate yourself all night long while you're sleeping when you're not doing anything else. And what happens is this light penetrates the body and turns to heat. And the first thing that happens when you bring your core body temperature up 1 degree is your immune system strength increases by 40-50%. They feel when you lay down on them, you guys know, you have one. So it's like the feeling is so good. It's like being in the cuddling with a lover, your wife or husband. It's just warmth and comfort.
How are you using biomats for patients in your clinics?
The cancer treatment using heat is very aggressive, meaning during the day, you sandwich yourself in between two of them, turn it on to high heat, and bake the cancer. The cancer will die before you will. No, this is, you can go to England and spend $20,000 and use microwave a cancer out of existence. These biomats basically do the same thing. Radiation therapy for cancer is really a solid idea. Unfortunately, oncologists use the wrong radiation. They use radiation that kills you. This biomat uses radiation that can save your life and make your life more comfortable, keep you warm in the cold, and help take care of your kids and all. The list doesn't end.
Yeah, because isn't there some sort of temperature at which cancer cells will start dying?
Right, and it's below the temperature that human cells will die.
So you really like this biomat far infrared technology, don't you?
But it's strengthened me. Well, now the kids are addicted to it. They fight on who's going to sleep on it at night. And it not only changed my life, but it changed my medical practice and my books. This is a great machine for anybody who lives in the cold during the winter. Instead of heating a big house, you just heat yourself. Bottom line, it brings good feelings. Just lay on this biomat, and it gives the strength back.
I can attest to that indeed. Kate and I love ours, and we think you will too. Learn more about these amazing biomats at extremehealthradio.com/biomat. Or you could check them out in our store as well. Again, that's extremehealthradio.com/biomat.
All free shows, all the time on Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Join our community today. Sign up to our email list and instantly get our free gift to you, along with loads of inspirational content and cutting-edge tips to help change your life at extremehealthradio.com/subscribe.
I love the guitar solo there. That's great, isn't it?
Better than I could play.
It sounds like, oh gosh, who does that remind me? Anyway, thank you everybody for joining us. We got Maggie laying on the biomat that we just ran the commercial for. She was on the biomat snoring a few minutes ago.
It's the funniest day ever.
Oh my gosh.
I've never heard her do that, and I thought a human being was walking by our window, and I looked at you with big eyes, and we looked over, and it was just Maggie.
The 10-pound dachshund snoring like crazy.
Makes a lot of noise, that little one.
So this is episode 216, and we're with Robert Mueller from barfworld.com. So make sure to check that out. And, it's interesting about the 90-day challenge that we were just talking about. Perhaps if you guys are interested in doing the 90-day challenge with us, that would be something. Maybe we can all talk about it in the forum and talk about how our dogs are doing on the 90-day challenge. And Robert, I think before the show, I spoke with Amber. Did she mention something about there being a discount for people?
We have agreed to put on a special promotion for your radio contacts.
Nice.
And very easily how we're expecting to do it is if any of your customers order at least a minimum of 12 pounds, that's 2 packages of our food, we'll give them a 20% off coupon to purchase the food. All they need to use is a promo code called EXTREME.
Okay.
That shows that it was purchased off of your radio.
Oh, great.
And,
that's so nice.
They can call 866-282-2273, or they can go online at barfworld.com and place the order.
Well, that's great. Perhaps we can get a handful of people, doing this 90-day challenge with us, and we can talk about it in the forum. And like you said, we can have you back on and talk about Maggie's improved bowel movement.
Let me share. I'll share with you what's going to happen on that first 90 days.
Yes.
By the way, that promotion expires by the end of this month, so we want everybody to take advantage of it as soon as possible.
Excellent.
Great.
Okay. Let me tell you the first thing. Now, probably not with your dog, because your dog has been fed a raw food diet now for a while. But if you take a dog that has been on dry food for a significant number of years, first thing that's going to happen is you're going to see a 30% reduction in stool volume. And the purpose or the reason for that is the utilization of the ingredients. The ingredients are better utilized in the dry food diet. Therefore, all that's left in the stool is ash and fiber, primarily. And so you see an immediate reduction. And on people that have large dogs, that's a fantastic advantage.
I bet. You're not having to deal with so much.
30% less. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And what are some of the other noticeable benefits that you'll see if people are coming off a really, really poor diet?
One that is a real amazing difference is on a muscle-type dog, a dog that should be muscled up and has been on dry food. It's kind of like a person that's 50 pounds overweight and hasn't exercised, and you know how you get all flabby and not looking so good. Well, this seems to take the nutrition right to the muscle area, and they tighten right up, tones right up. So a muscled dog, you're going to see an immediate transition after that 90-day period. You're going to see that muscle up situation happen. Activity levels will change. I guess I relate that as human aspect. If you eat better, you feel better, and you act better. And it's no different with the dog. If the dog eats properly, nutritionally, he's better advantage to increase his activity level. How many times have you seen a dog with bad breath? It's amazing what dry dog food is like eating popcorn all the time. Hacks up into their teeth and produces dental problems and plaque. We don't have that problem with feeding the raw diet. They don't have to go get their dog's teeth brushed anymore. The dog breath goes away. It's certainly a real benefit that we see. Hair coat difference. Part of that 90-day challenge, we do give our Barf Omega product, and that throws the additional levels of fatty acids that makes a tremendous difference on skin condition and also hair coat difference. It shines up right away, so you're going to see a visual difference right away. These are the basic changes that you're going to see.
And then, go ahead, Kate.
Well, the dogs, do some of them tend to go through a bit of, like you said, like they get worse before they get better, as far as like, do they vomit or do they have a hard time like assimilating that new food into their diet? Or
if there's a situation that the dog has with digestive issues, we always suggest that dog goes on what we call our slow conversion. Mm-hmm. We'll not do an immediate conversion. I would say good 80 to 90% of the people that we convert over the dogs that we convert over right away can do it just fine, not a problem. But the ones that have digestive issues, and maybe that's caused by antibiotics, maybe it's caused by steroids that have been given to the dog, where we've knocked down their immune system to the point where now the internal organ systems aren't working properly. Well, first thing that then we suggest is we do a slow conversion onto the diet, and that will eliminate a lot of the vomiting problems.
And so by slow conversion, would you just mean introducing little bits of your food into their normal food for a while?
Into their current food.
Okay.
One caution that I will throw out to your listeners, we do not recommend that people feed a raw food diet with a dry food diet and feeding it together. If they're going to do it for economic reasons primarily, then we suggest separate the feeding. Feed one in the morning and the other one at night. Oh. And then you won't have the digestive issues. You're not confusing the pancreas, for instance, for trying to figure out what enzyme levels that we should produce for the GI tract.
Interesting.
So
that makes sense.
We always suggest that they separate the feeding.
So I guess that would be similar to humans, not mixing their fruits. Like you wouldn't want to eat a piece of fruit with a piece of meat or something like that.
Now, there's all kinds of theories out there in regards to what order you should eat your food. A lot of cultures say that you should eat your dessert first and then eat their protein sources later. Mm-hmm. Salads and all those things, there's different orders and different reasons for doing it. and it all relates to enzymes. The book that I wrote is regards to the ingestion of living enzymes that are ingested as a result of eating a raw food diet rather than eating a dead food diet.
That makes sense.
And it's just super benefits that you get from a dog getting the enzymes, because what that does is it allows the pancreas to live longer. Once your pancreas stops, throwing out the enzymes needed for life, life stops. So the longer we can keep the pancreas alive by ingesting those enzymes and helping the pancreas, the better off the dog's going to have. And that's why we get longevity. That's why we can increase the dog's life for a year or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
That's great. So now we had that listener question about the eggs. What do you recommend as far as people, if they want to feed their dog like an egg or 2 every now and then, like a raw egg that's high quality, organic egg? Are eggs good for dogs, do you think?
I believe that a egg is nature's most desirable food. Desirable in that it gives the most nutrition, the most proper nutrition as for any other food that's out there. So yes, I believe in eggs. There are some drawbacks to eggs and what can do for instance, building a little sulfur dioxide gas emission if too much eggs are used. But we do put eggs in our diet, and I believe in them. They're good.
Interesting. So you think with dogs they should be eating raw eggs? Absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, if they're running around and found them, I'm sure they'd go for them,
They're going to find them out in the wild. They're going to find, this is what they eat.
If a dog ran across an egg, I'm just curious, in the wild, I wonder if it would eat the shell.
Yes.
That probably would, wouldn't it?
Sure.
Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? So
that's how they get their calcium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The eggshells are loaded with calcium. They're not loaded with phosphorus. They're loaded with calcium.
So that would be. We should just put one egg in Maggie's bowl.
Let her go for it.
With your products, we had some listener questions asking about bones and what kinds of bones dogs should be eating. But you have bones in your food as well.
We grind the bones. Now this is a philosophy difference between Dr. Billinghurst and myself.
Okay.
Dr. Billinghurst is an advocate of making your own homemade diets, and like I said, we're the advocate of making a commercially fed diet and eliminating all the hassle of having to source the different ingredients and not knowing what you're doing in regards to making these diets. But bones are a tough one for somebody to make their own homemade diet, and that's primarily because most grinders that people would be able to buy aren't even going to come close to being able to grind hard bones. And, we use a $100,000 grinder to grind the bone source, to put it in such a state that the dogs aren't going to have problems ingesting it. That's like I said, there is a little philosophy difference because Dr. B likes to promote giving dogs the choice of eating raw meaty bones. Well, we differ a little bit on that because by people feeding our diet the way we're doing it, we're not having broken teeth and having bone shards that are puncturing the esophagus and all the nightmares in regards to eating raw bones. But primarily the rule of thumb is you do not give a dog cooked bones because cooked bones they're more brittle and they're able to produce sharp shards of bone. Cooked bones will not. So that's the rule of thumb in regards to bones.
And what about brisket bones for dogs? Are they good?
It's good because it's a little softer bone. You can get by with brisket bone rather than a femur bone.
Okay.
That's better. Rib bones, brisket bones, chicken bones are good. Chicken wings, chicken necks, that type of bone is good.
So it's really important.
The dogs love it.
It's really important to get all of these things because if you give your dog a bone, they would be getting the bone marrow, like Maggie likes to lick out the bone marrow and all these organ meats and all these things that are in your product. It's important that dogs eat that rather than just muscle meat, right?
That's correct. A dog just eating muscle meat will end up having major skeletal problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the bigger the dog, the bigger the skeletal problem.
The bigger the skeletal problem. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
One thing that we have done with our company is we've incorporated a new product with bones from elk bone, antler bones.
Oh, really?
And it's amazing. They're extremely hard. They love the marrow and the ingredients internally from the bone, and they last. A small dog like yours, one bone will last probably for 30 days.
For a 10-pound dog, I know it lasts forever.
Yeah.
So what do you think about, every now and then when I make my smoothies or make my food in the kitchen, we have this raw grass-fed butter, and we have a ghee. And a ghee is actually a cooked product, but it's an animal product. And anytime I open that jar,
Guess who comes running?
Guess who comes running? Maggie comes. And I usually, because it's raw, it's grass-fed, it's organic, it's coming from great sources, I usually give her just a tiny bit because she loves it. Is there problems, do you think, with feeding dogs like something like that that's high fat? A little bit.
I would suggest keeping the fat levels to a minimum.
Okay.
And the reason is the chances of pancreatitis.
Okay.
You got to be careful.
So now the problem
once the dog starts getting pancreatitis, the possibilities of recurrent sessions of pancreatitis is more and more. So you got to be careful with fat.
Okay.
That's why I say we run into some problems with people trying to make their own homemade diets because they just don't understand the proper ratios and they try to put these mixes together, but thinking that they're doing something good for their dog, and it ends up they're hurting their dog more than doing good for them.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm going to have to figure out a way to train Maggie because every time I open that jar, she comes running.
Well, when the dogs do that with our diet, we call it the pet patty dance.
Oh my goodness,
that's so
cute. That's funny. So we have a little 10-pound dachshund, and so we give her a little bit of. So maybe I'll just shy away from
just every once in a while.
Maybe once a month or something as a little treat.
Yeah, if you're going to give them a little treat, we sell some freeze-dried liver treats, and if you're going to use bones, like I said, we like our elk bones, and short of that, just stay away from the table scraps, stay away from bad treats, stay away from junk food, that type of thing.
I see.
The dog can do it, but like feeding a Baby Ruth candy bar to a 3-year-old as their diet, pretty soon all the results happen from doing it.
It's going to definitely catch up to them. I see people feeding their dog table scraps of pizza
I know.
Slices.
Burritos.
It's amazing. The dogs just love it. But
makes you cringe, though.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of salt. There's a lot of ingredients that they're not really supposed to have. So, before the dry food companies came into the scene 100 years ago, that's all the dogs were really fed. So, I don't think the dogs back in that era had as many problems as what we have on the dry foods today.
Yeah, I
kind of like people, huh?
Yeah. So people
kind of like people.
People can get your products. I look on your website and it looks like there's a place to buy. So you have your products at different locations around the country as well, right?
We have different fulfillment centers at different places around the country so that we can deliver any food in the country within a 2-day period of time. I would say 95% of our sales can be delivered within 2 days with dry ice.
Okay, I see. Wow, this is great. So you freeze, and you have different size patties, it looks like here, for people, for dogs?
We have an 8-ounce patty, okay? We will be producing this in a smaller size.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we make our chicken diet as little nuggets, okay? So for the smaller dogs, we got real small portions, and for the larger dogs, they can do an 8-ounce patty just fine. One patty feeds a 12-pound dog for a daily ration. That's a good rule of thumb.
Okay, interesting. And so
somebody that's got a little 10-pound dog, you can one pack of our food will last you quite a while.
It'll last you a whole year, probably.
Have you seen our dog eat, though? Just kidding.
Yeah, she's a crazy one.
Just kidding.
Now, is there any? I'm just curious about the ingredients. It looks like are there issues with organic and grass fed and all that stuff? How does that come into play with these types of diets?
My philosophy is when we have available organic sources, we use them. Mm-hmm. When we have grass-fed sources, we use them. All of our products are procured from human edible sources, USDA approved food.
Oh, wow.
So the dog's eating as good as we're eating, and I don't know they can get any better than that.
That's so great. So you have a diatomaceous earth for pets and people. This is great.
I just saw that too.
Yeah.
Yep. I think a lot of our philosophies and the purposes of your program are quite similar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I see here you have Sovereign Silver. This is great.
Yep.
So what would be the use for this with a dog, a silver?
I'll tell you what, we can get into all the different reasons, but primarily a lot of it's in regards to mobility, a lot of it's in regards to digestion, a lot of it's high metal content from dry food. We got different remedies for stress. We can go on in regards to a lot of, the itching and all the problems that we see with allergies. These are what some of our supplemental products are used for.
This is so cool. Yeah, I see a diatomaceous, the bentonite clay. So dogs would naturally eat a little bit of dirt and clay if they were out in the wild, wouldn't they?
Yeah, people get concerned about that, don't they?
They do.
That's part of nature.
It is.
And for those that are listening, if you're interested, there's also a really interesting thing. If you go into their product section, it looks like there's a private consultation with a holistic vet, Dr. Kathy. How do you spell or say her last name? Alinovi? A-L-I-N-O-V-I.
Oh, Dr. Kathy Alinovi.
Alinovi, yeah. And so
she's in Indiana. She's a holistic vet in Indiana, and whenever we get into scenarios that require vet assistance, we call on Dr. Kathy, and she does very good consultations with people that are having the more complicated issues to deal with.
That's so great.
And she's a raw food advocate, so she's a good one to tag in with.
Oh, that's great. So all of this, if you're listening, can be found on the barfworld.com. And if you're interested in doing the 90-day challenge with us, let us know, and we'll talk about it in our forum and talk about all the different benefits that you guys are getting with your dogs.
And share it on the next show, because we'd love to have you back, Robert. That was great.
Well, if they will do the 90-day challenge the way that we set it up, and we talk with each one that as to what kind of a problem they're having, and we'll see whether we feel that the 90-day challenge will work. I can pretty well assure you that they will see a total different dog at the end of 90 days.
That's so
great. I've seen it so many times. That's why I offer it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so great. I love
Amazing.
Because we love our four-leggeds around here, don't we? Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Add so much.
Well, thank you, Robert. I really appreciate you spending some time with us and being available on such short notice. You saved us today.
You did.
Good. Well, good. I hope we can put this together after the 90-day challenges that do come through, and we can see that we can develop some testimonials and all that good stuff. So
awesome.
Well, that's good stuff. And for those that are listening live, if you would like to check out this product and interested in doing the 90-day challenge with us, make sure to enter in the code EXTREME, EXTREME, into their website, barfworld.com, and you'll be able to get a little 20% discount on your product through the month of March of 2014. So if you're listening to this in the future, it will not be available, but if you're listening right around this time, then it will be available for another few weeks. And this is episode number 216, and for those that are listening live, we will be back later on for another show in a couple hours, or actually in 1 hour. But we're going to be signing off right now. If you'd like to listen further to the show and the podcast, you can check out the podcast as soon as it becomes available. And we'll be signing off live right now. Thank you so much for listening.
Kate, we'll be calling you back to set your dog up, okay?
Oh, Robert, thank you so much.
You bet.
Appreciate this.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we are still live.
Oh.
And we obviously have no idea how to run a radio show here.
I didn't know. You have to tell me these things.
I know. I was expecting Robert to stay on a little bit longer, but he did not stay on. So
that was very kind.
I think he just had things to do, but that was a great show, wasn't it?
Yes, I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, Robert Mueller from barfworld.com, and we're going to do this 90-day challenge.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I've heard about him for a few years, actually.
Yeah, we've known about him for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We need to fix Maggie's breath.
Yeah.
I love it. I love little doggy breath.
Little stinky dog breath.
Stinky doggy breath. But
it makes her, but I know but dachshunds are known
Are they?
Their bad breath.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that right?
I've heard. And their teeth, their teeth can have a lot of problems, but
Really?
we're trying everything we can. But yeah, I'm interested to see what'll happen with their breath even on this diet.
What do you think about the eggs?
Gosh, I agree with him.
Yeah.
The people we got Maggie from before that owned her for the first, that raised her for the first 5 months before we got her, they lived on this land where they had a bunch of wild, not wild, but they had chickens running around laying eggs and goats and things like that. And they said that the dogs would get into the chicken coop and eat the eggs. So they were doing that. Even when she was a little tiny little dog.
Cute?
So I'm sure it only adds to their to their nutritional profile.
I can't imagine. I know I always joke about that. Maggie's nutritional profile.
Maggie's nutritional profile.
But that would be pretty funny to put an egg just in her bowl, wouldn't it?
If we do, we're going to have to video it and put it on our Extreme Health Radio site
gosh.
because that would be classic to watch.
Yeah, that would be pretty funny.
She'd probably poke around. What the heck is this? Try to get into it and then somehow make her way into the middle.
I think dogs could live a lot longer. I think they could live a lot longer, probably 3 or 4 years longer, if you were to raise them raw, and walk them and give them good water. I didn't ask them about water. It'd be interesting to know about what kind of water, because you obviously don't want to have your dog drinking tap water,
right?
Because of the fluoride and all that stuff.
I'm assuming the highest quality water you can get, but like he did say, they're getting most of their water should be from their diet. So 70%, it's probably enough to even live on if they never had any water. But
that's true.
I assume, their supplemental water should be, at least. Yeah, I don't know if he'd recommend either alkalinized or what, but at least purified and just anything but tap water, I'd think. But they're out there drinking out of the gutter. It's not good.
I know. We joke all the time how well Maggie gets taken care of. It's crazy. Like right now, she's laying with her head on a pillow and she's snoring on a biomat. It's just
surrounded
crazy.
by a fuzzy, fuzzy blanket.
It's so funny. I laugh because she gets, when we go out and get spring water, we'll give her spring water. When we go out and get the alkaline water, we feed her alkaline
when we give
water.
her baths, it's in the bathtub with the filtered system from Friends of Water.
Oh, the Friends of Water filter, yeah. Yeah, she gets filtered water.
Oh, Maggie.
Yeah.
She's living a good life over here, isn't she?
Living a good life, yeah.
She picked a good house.
So thanks, everybody, for joining us. Like I said, this is episode 216, and if you would like to do the 90-day challenge, or if you just have further questions about this show, you could either leave a comment on this page, episode 216, or you could go to our forum, and there's a thread in there for pets and animals that you can continue the discussions. So make sure to do that, because we'd love to hear how your dog's being fed and what's working for your dog. So make sure to continue the discussions in our forums. It's free to join, free to sign up, and doesn't cost a thing. And you get your little confirmation, then you can sign in and introduce yourself to everybody and then get going. So please make sure to do that. And if you would like to stay up to date with our shows, don't forget to sign up to our newsletter or join our Facebook group, because you'll get notifications of all our past shows and our upcoming shows, and you can stay up to date with everything that we have going on here, which is
a lot.
Which is a lot.
It's a little challenging to stay up with it all.
Yeah, it's just a two-person show, and we're going to be adding more, and we don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to be adding more as time goes on. So
yeah,
it's a lot of fun. So make sure to stay up to date with everything we have going on from our newsletter. And I wanted to mention this too. This month, through the month of March 2014, we're giving away $168 worth of Morocco Method raw, vegan, organic, wildcrafted hair care products. So you get a ton of stuff. And all you got to do is go to extremehealthradio.com/win, and you can sign up, put your little name and email address in there, and then you'll get a confirmation in your email. And then you can use the link that you get to share it with your Facebook fans and Twitter followers, and then you'll earn a lot more points, and that will increase your chances of winning. So make sure to do that.
I'll tell you what, we have the best. We do. We have the best people and products in the world, I believe.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Like, how can you get better than that with our hair care and products? We're loving those. Talking to Robert right now, it's like, this is the best of stuff out there, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's like all the products we promote, the sauna, the rebounder. I mean, these things are expensive, but they're just the best.
Man, I'm just loving them all.
Yeah, they're
loving
just
them.
Really great.
Yeah. You pay now or you pay later.
That's right. That is true.
That's what philosophy we've adopted, because it is true. I mean, we value, we've cut out going to movies and going out to eat and things like that, just so we can, we value our, going to the health food store and loading up on our groceries.
Yeah.
And it's funny what becomes, the shift that happens.
Yeah.
And if you can, I know the barf diet does seem a little pricey, but you're right. If you're saving all the money on the vet bills and
I know, right?
Oh gosh. And I mean, how often do you see a dog with major skin conditions? And I mean, I see it all the time. It's just sad. These dogs are itching. It's not their fault. They're having reactions to all the bad food they're eating. And gosh, if people could just value a little bit more what they put into their little furry family members' body.
Yeah, because it's like you said, you pay now, you pay later. I mean, eventually we're going to pay, whether it's vet bills, surgery costs, things like that, or if we just spread it out over a long period of time now. In order to keep any biological human or animal alive, it needs certain things.
Yes.
It just does. And you can get away with it for a certain amount of time, but eventually you're going to end up sick.
You're right. I forgot to ask him this question. Do you know if they ship, is it only within the U.S. and Canada? Or if anyone's listening do they ship to other countries?
I think they do, yeah.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah, I think they do. I'm not really sure. Let's see. Shop online. You can find a local retailer in your state. You can call to order. Oh, they have a really cool thing too here. Find a holistic vet.
I did see that. I entered
Select
in our
your
state,
state.
actually.
Wow.
Pretty neat, huh?
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Holistic vet. Okay. Yeah, so I'm sure, what you'd want to do is call 866-282-2273 and find out if they can ship anywhere in the world. And I'm sure they can.
I would think.
I'm almost positive.
Yeah.
barfworld.com. And yeah, check that out. And if you have any questions about this show, please let me know. And we're here to help you guys. So anything we can do to help you, please just let us know. And we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to this episode.
It's time to go for now. But our mission does not end with this show.
Justin and Kate will be back with another interview packed full of ideas, discoveries, and unique ways to regain your health.
Head on over to extremehealthradio.com/subscribe and instantly download our free gift too that contains cutting-edge strategies to start making healthy lifestyle changes today.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even as you educate yourself in the field of live food nutrition and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers or listeners medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis of any disease, nor an attempt to treat or prevent any disease or condition. While information in this blog and during this podcast is discussed in the context of numerous conditions, it can be dangerous to take action based on any of the information on this podcast or in this blog, or to start any health program without first consulting a health professional.